I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins to shine, we're gonna start moving towards that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got a made up mind, and I don't mind if I lose any blood on the way to salvation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take
Let her
my
know that we will not
people
be
with
fighting
me.
until you guys hear
Together
us,
we
alright?
are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. And I know what's around the bend might be hard to face 'cause I'm alone, and I just might fail, but Lord knows I'll try. Sisters, fill up the sky. Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Do you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. I hear freedom calling, calling me to answer. Gonna keep
A very good afternoon to you, good evening, good night, wherever you are watching or whenever you watch or review this wonderful program. I'm your host, Bonita Montague, and today we, the women of the National Congress of Women, celebrate 2026 International Women's Month with a power pack discussion. Information, entertainment, and quite a lot to share. We have women that are featured on this panel who has served over decades, starting from the 60s to present. National Congress of Women came about and was formed in 1957 under the then leadership founder father of our nation and founder leader of the PNCR, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. Over the years, we have spanned over several leaders from Eliphas Burnham to Hughes Desmond Hoyt, then to Corbin, then to David Arthur Granger, and then to our present leader, Aubrey Compton Norton. And may I correct the records? It's Robert Corbin. And so, thank you for that. Tonight, I want you to sit back and listen keenly as our women tells their story, the role they played in the National Congress of Women, starting from the Women's Auxiliary to the Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement, and now to the National Congress of Women, where our national chair is none other than Honorable Volda Ann Lawrence. Our women are not only a group of persons residing in Guyana, but our arms are stretched to the diaspora, featuring women and including women from Canada and United States of America. Tonight, I do not want to stand in between yourself and all the women who will be speaking to you. They'll be sharing some of the tea. They'll be telling you what they did. They'll be telling you of those that came before us. And on the backs we ride. So today I say to all women everywhere, take a bow, fix your crown, and let us continue to motivate, elevate, and as our international theme is, rights, justice, and action for all women and girls. I now introduce you to one of our most senior members, who is none other than Alberta Buffett, to do the affirmation and the prayer as we move the program ahead.
You know, you know.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. My time to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, my peace and my love. My peace and my love to each and every one on the program tonight. I must say peace and love and God richest blessing. So tonight, as we gather here on this program, I like to do a prayer. So I'll ask everyone to relax, release, let go, and take a few moments for this prayer. As we come tonight, Father God, to give you thanks and praise. We release, we let go, and we let you, God, who is perfect, walking and true, us here and right now. So we do this prayer through Christ in me. Our brain is rejuvenated, and our mind is always keen, alert, and intelligent. And we all have an inspired memory. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Now, as we do the Lord's Prayer, just relax, let go, and let God. Each and every one, could do the Lord's Prayer along with I am doing it, knowing our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, now and ever shall be, love everlasting. Amen. 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 Praise the Lord. Over to you now.
Thank you so much. And, in everything we give thanks, and how wonderful it is to have one of our seniors at 100 and almost 2 years old, opening our program with the Lord's Prayer and an affirmation. I will ask Alberta Braffett to tell us, who is Alberta Braffett?
Alberta Braffett is a mother, grandmother, a great grandmother, great grandmother, and children. I was born in Dalgin, Demerara, Guyana. There, my father title was David Walton. I was given David Walton. I am the mother of 3 biological sons, including Eric Lewis, whom I resolved with, and 3 adopted daughters. And I'm with my son and my daughter-in-law. They are taking care of me. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. And I resolved the party of women's arms since in the 1960s. And I must say that I am a teacher too. Some people call me Teacher Braffett. Some call me Mother Braffett. And I give God thanks and praise. And I must say that I am a Unity student for years and years now, from Guyana in the 60s until up to now. I'm still in the Unity doing prayers every night. I am on a prayer line with different reverends to do. Tonight I had to ask one of my reverends to excuse me that I could be on this program tonight because I was to do prayers on her program. So here am I tonight, in Jesus' name. Okay. Amen. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you ever so much. And you always get the show when you reach 102 years old. You get to do as you please for most part. So thank you ever so much. Moving along, I will ask the same question to our panelists. So allow me to move around our tables that we have set. And so I will ask Sister Ermia Johnson, another stalwart, to tell us, who is Ermia Johnson?
Not hearing. I'm
Ermia
not hearing.
Johnson.
I'm not hearing.
Okay, we're going to move on to Sister Cheryl Sampson. Who is Cheryl Sampson?
Sharon Sampson is a born country girl, born in Iflat, West Coast, Demerara. Became a teacher, and it was during my teaching days that Ermia Johnson spotted me as soon as I became a member of the People's National Congress. She identified me, and so I joined the WRSM. As a result of being involved in the WRSM, I was sent off to Cuba to do political science, and I returned to be a staff member. I worked for a number of years with the WRSM on a full-time basis until I subsequently went back to teaching. Apart from that, my political life, mainly with the women, I also had a part I served in the Central Executive of the People's National Congress, and also as a member of parliament at some point. I moved on from the WRSM onto the National Congress of Women, and I'm now what you call a life member. Professional teacher, a women's rights activist, and a diehard member of the People's National Congress. I think that's enough for me.
Thanks ever so much. And they all the experienced sisters, they always have a punchline. A diehard PNCR member. Moving along, we have Sister Genevieve Allen. Who is Genevieve Allen?
A very pleasant good evening to each and every one of you sisters. I am Genevieve Pervesta Roxanne Allen, born Baronian and still reside in the village of Betterfuakti. I served in the teaching profession for a number of years before I became a full-time politician. I served in the technical education stream, and a number of students who would have graduated from under my tutorship are now established businessmen and women in various fields in the mechanical field. I joined the WRSM during the late 80s, and I would have served not only as an executive member of the WRSM, and then when the name changed to National Congress of Women, I continued to serve, and I served as the National Secretary of the National Congress of Women under the chairmanship of Sister Cheryl Sampson. I also served as a member of parliament between the years 2001 to 2006. And I served at the Regional Democratic Council, Region number 4, as a regional councillor, as regional vice chairman, and regional chairman. I am an advocate for women's rights improvement. I must also say that I served as a trade unionist in the Ghana Teachers Union. That is who I am.
Thank you ever so much. That is who Sister Genevieve Allen is. And we're moving along around the table. Sister Ermia, is she back and able to hear us?
Hello.
Yes. Who is Ermia Johnson?
Yeah. My name is Ermia Johnson, and I'm associated with the work of the women's arm of the PNC from the 1960s to the current period. My background information is that I am an educator. I was involved in politics in the People's National Congress at the level of Assistant General Secretary. In addition, I was a minister of government in several ministries, cooperatives, responsible for women's affairs, regional development, national mobilization. I worked with the WRSM with Mrs. Burnham as national secretary, and then later I became national chairman of the WRSM, national chairman of the National Congress of Women. Next year, the National Congress of Women will observe 70 years as a national, influential, and forward-looking women's organization. The National Congress Women's Arm of the PNC was founded on October 5, 1957, by Jane Phillips Gay and Winifred Gaskin, trailblazers and prominent female members of the PNC. Jane Phillips Gay was the first president, and Winifred Gaskin was the first general secretary of the PNCW, respectively. They were political activists and were conscious about the systemic inequality which women faced in British Guiana in the 1950s. And they founded the PNCWA as a political women's movement with the goal of achieving women's advancement in politics, public life, economic, and social development. The PNCWA was founded at a Congress of the PNC, which was held on October 5, 1957. The women's arm of the PNC was renamed on 2 occasions. In 1976, at the PNC's first biennial convention, a new constitution was adopted, and the PNCWA was renamed the Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement. In May 1994, the WRSM's 9th biennial convention, new objectives were adopted, and the WRSM was renamed the National Congress of Women. The PNC, the WRSM, and the NCW are known as phases, 3 phases of the women's arm of the PNC. The phases were conceptualized by Viola Burnham, who was the chairman of the WRSM in 1982 on the 25th anniversary of the WRSM. She asserted that the change from the PNC to the WRSM should be conceptualized as distinct phases of development in the organization. At that time, she said, they were the foundation phase, the development takeoff phase, and consolidation phase. But as the organization advanced, and in 1994, when the NCW was formed, Ormia Johnson continued to document the history of the women's arm of the PNC. And the phases were updated as follows. The PNCWA was termed as the foundation phase from 1957 to 1976. The WRSM, the development takeoff phase, the second phase from 1976 to 1994. And the National Congress of Women, the consolidation phase, and the third phase from 1994 to the period 2026 and will be ongoing as the NCW. So the National Congress of Women is one unified organization which developed from 1957 when it was called the PNCWA to the WRSM to the NCW phase. Now the movement from the PNCW to the WRSM was influenced by International Women's Year 1975, which was designated by the United Nations to highlight the urgency of achieving gender equality and equal rights for women. There were three objectives: to eliminate discrimination against women, achieve equal rights for women, and achieve gender equality, and achieve the integration and full participation of women in development. So the IWI was a turning point in the history of the PNCWA. Leaders of the PNCWA participated in three important meetings held in 1975. The three meetings influenced the change from the PNC to the WRSM. The meetings were the General Council meeting of the PNC, WA, which was guided by Shorty Philbrady, at which a paper on the role of women in development, role and status of women in Guyana was discussed. A second meeting was at the first United Nations World Conference on Women, where some leaders of the Women's Arm participated. And the third meeting was the first biennial Congress of the PNC. And at that Congress, the leader of the PNC and the Congress made recommendations that the PNC, WA, should be reorganized, should change its auxiliary role and image, adopt a new name, increase its activism, and implement innovative programs for women to participate equally with men in development. Therefore, in 1976, the first biennial convention of the PNCWA was convened, and the changes which were recommended were made, and the PNCWA was renamed to the WRSM. Among the leaders in the first phase, you had, in addition to Winifred Garcia and Jane Phillips-Gay, you had Lucille Cox David and Hyacinth Goddard, who were the treasurers. You had Margaret Ackman, who was a general secretary, and you had Dolly Small, who was an assistant general secretary. Viola Burnham became a vice president in 1970 during the PNCW phase. In the WRSM phase, Viola Burnham was national chairman from 1976 to 1990. Yvonne Hewitt-Ben was national chairman from 1990 to 1994. And other prominent members and leaders were Shorty Philbrady, Jean Maitland-Singh, Verna Welchman, they were vice chairman. Treasurers Augusta Crawford and Lucille Cox David. Cheryl Sampson, education secretary. General secretaries, Dolly Small, Aurelia, Jennifer Ferrero. Some executive committee members were Bisundai, Benny Prashad, Raymond, and Maureen. Another member will speak about the development which took place during the WRSM phase and the work which was achieved, the programs which were implemented, and what was achieved during that phase. Now we then moved to the National Congress of Women phase in 1994. Now there were a lot of changes happening in Guyana at that time. And the PNC changed its socialist philosophy. And the WRSM, which was linked to the parent body of the PNC, changed its socialist philosophy as well, because many women felt that even though the WRSM had achieved substantial gains for women, they felt that the socialist objectives of the WRSM did not reflect the aspirations of Guyanese women. And so the NCW phase evolved with leaders Ormia Johnson, Cheryl Sampson, Valda Lawrence. And then you have some vice chairmen, Carol Joseph Smith, Doreen Duncan, Florence Bourne, Urani Johnson, secretaries Martin Dennis, Genevieve Allen, and treasurers Stella Oliali, Louisa Joseph, Linda Gomes Hardy. And of course, their regional leaders, Vanessa Kitsoon, Janet Fortune, Carmen Simon. Now, when the NCW phase began, the PNC had just lost governmental office. So the party was in opposition. So it was a challenging period for the women. And so they set about organizing the NCW to reach out to women and organize women for social, economic, and political empowerment programs. The political programs continued to consolidate and extend the outreach capability of both the PNCR and the NCW. I will close on this note, but the final thing I will say is that at a general members meeting held on February 21, 2025, at the Hall of US Congress Space, members felt and affirmed that the NCW should continue as the name for the women's arm of the PNC because it adequately reflects and embodies the national representative character of the organization, which has historically achieved significant advancement for Guyanese women. And so we look forward to achieving the 70th anniversary of the women's arm of the PNC in 2027. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Sister Ermia Johnson. And not only did you introduce yourself, but you went into your historical data bank to offload. And so we want to say thank you for that. Moving ahead, we will now ask Volda Lawrence. Who is Volda Lawrence? Volda Ann Lawrence, our national chair.
Thank you, Sister Benita, and good night to everyone on the panel and those listening. Who is Volda Lawrence? Volda Lawrence is a simple, quiet, energetic, loving person. I joined the People's National Congress some 34 years ago this year, and that propelled and started my political, I must say, career. Other than that, I was just a simple young woman pursuing finance accounting studies at the University of Guyana. And as I joined the party, I began through the group as group secretary. Then I went to the district level. I served as the chair of the Georgetown district for several years. And then I went on to the national executive of the party, where I served for a few decades. And I went to the Parliament of Guyana as a parliamentarian, where I shadowed the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security for the period we were in opposition before 2015. At that time, I also held the position of Principal Political Secretary for Social Services in the party under Leader Hugh Desmond Hoyt and Leader Robert Corbyn. It was during the elections at the Women's Armed Convention under the leadership of Mr. David Granger, where I was propelled to the post of chairman of the National Congress of Women. Prior to that, I just served as an executive, and I have been the chair since. As I said, I've served as a minister in the APNU plus AFC administration as Minister of Social Protection, and then I went on to the Ministry of Public Health. While I served in the National Assembly and as minister, I also held several portfolios internationally. I was the chair of the Caribbean Network of Parliamentarians. I was also the treasurer of CMPPDG. I also served on the board of directors for the PAHO and went on to serve as executive director on the WHO board. Apart from that, I am a person who believes that every girl and every woman have a role to play in the building of our communities and our society. I believe in justice for women. I believe that women must be heard and women can and do promote the family, the community, and the country as a whole. So I have endorsed those things, and that has become part of my life and what I do. And apart from that, I am an accountant by profession, and that's humble value for you.
Thanks ever so much. Very modest to say humble after all those things. And I know you had to take a break, not giving us all the accolades you've ever held and all the achievements you've had and you have attained. So congratulations and thank you to the national chair. And now there you have it. That's who Volda Ann Lawrence is. Do we have any other women in the room who has not identified themselves as yet? Okay. All right. So now I am seeing you. Most of you know who Benita is. You don't need to know who I am again, right? I introduced myself. I'm the host, not the MC. So the MC position might be open later at the next forum. Nevertheless, um, I am the eldest of four siblings. I am the mother of two boys. Well, they will tell me young men, Courtney and Marley. Um, I have started my life in cosmetology. Then I went on to constabulary, then to the police force. I started as an athlete, and then the police force proper. Um, I migrated through the United States, where I continued my learning extensively, and I entered the life of humanitarian work prior to migrating, but became more involved in humanitarian work on the break of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. I felt passionate about that, still do feel passionate about that, and the stigma attached to it. And so that ignited the flame in me and the fire that you see. Outside of that, I always had an interest in advocating and representing children and women, especially. Even though I serve across the spectrum and serves across gender lines, that has been my focus area as a fierce advocate. I went on to co-found an organization that is non-for-profit and operational in Guyana as well as in the USA. And then I went on to move back and forth to Guyana in terms of bringing service. I've served in most of uh, the Caribbean countries, providing needs assessment, crisis management, therapeutic services over the years. But I want to be remembered as a humanitarian, as a woman and child rights activist, and as someone who genuinely care about humanity and about the things that affects us, like injustices and inequality and all the things that plagues our society. So pretty much that's who Benita is. But I must tell you that on the 31st of March 2023, I was able to mobilize the women with the support of our national chairholder, Anne Lawrence, the executive, which included our first vice, Carl Smith Joseph, to launch an arm in the diaspora, which covers Canada and United States of America. And so our arms are spread across the diaspora, and we are always recruiting and open so that we can have women mobilized, educated, entertained, and to give back. That's important that we give back. So in a nutshell, that's who Benita really is. And so moving along. Now, we've heard from Sister Ermia Johnson. We would like to go back to Sister Cheryl Sampson, who will add to the journey of the Women's Auxiliary and then progressing to the the Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement, and then to the National Congress of Women. And so the floor is now open to have our dear sister, life member, Sister Cheryl Sampson.
As I indicated, I joined I don't think I said it, but I joined the People's National Congress in 1975. And in 1976, as Ernie said, the WRSM was renamed from the PNCWA.
I
And so
think you're
that is when
muted. I'm not
sorry,
hearing you.
just hold 1 minute for me. Where is this? Oh, God. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
You're hearing
Go
me now?
ahead.
Okay. I was saying I joined the People's
You've
National
gone
Congress in
again. You
19...
said yes, but you've gone again.
Are you hearing me now? Hello?
I'm hearing you.
Go
You're
ahead.
hearing me? Yes, I was saying I became a
I'm
member
not
of the
hearing at this end.
Who is not hearing me? Volda, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Is Armia hearing me? Genevieve, are you hearing me? I'm not too sure.
They
Only
have
says
indicated
the
they're hearing you.
Is Benita hearing me?
Something gone wrong.
So can I go ahead? Hello? Ladies?
I guess you can.
I am hearing.
Okay, I was saying I became a member of the People's National Congress in 1975 and a member of the WRSM in 1976. And that is when my involvement started. As Armia said, with the change, we had different phase, and I was in that developmental stage when we were doing a number of projects and activities to build the organization. I remember our market days. We used to have regular market days where the different regions will bring in stuff and we will sell at the headquarters. As a result of our sales from the market days and our fundraising, we were able to buy the extra plot that was next door, where currently the Burnham bust is situated. That land wasn't, that part wasn't, didn't belong to the WRSM, only where the office is. And subsequently, they were able to purchase that. And so during that time, from the market days, we were able to open a supermarket where we were able to be of service to the people in the Kitty area, and many other persons were able to come in and get stuff from us. During that period of the WRSM as well, we were able to do a number of projects. And because the late Forbes Burnham had referred to the WRSM as the vanguard of the vanguard, we decided that our projects must have the van as part of it, from the vanguard. And so some of the projects we had were like Van Gear, and that was a garment factory which was situated at Melanie Damishana. This was help. We were able to set this up with help from the UNICEF funding. Apart from Van Gear, we also had the tie-dye, which was one of our first projects. And because we were doing so much tie-dye, we opened up a shop that could have sold the projects, the products. And we called that shop Van Pro. It was Van Products. So Van Pro sold all the items that the different projects would have done. I spoke about Van Gear and Van Pro. We had something called Van Aid. Van Aid was a project which did bandages, gauze, and the like for the hospitals. And we got the stuff to do the bandages from the Sonata Textile Mill. You remember that we had a mill that did cloth with cotton that came from Kimbia. And so the ends of the cotton, the spinning of the cotton, we were able to use that to continue to do spinning, and we made gauze and bandages, and we supplied the Ministry of Health for different hospitals. Apart from Van Aid, we also had a project called Vantex with the help of the some funding from the Indian government, and they sent down a consultant. We use old cardboard, discarded cardboard, and newspapers and so on, and with the product, and we were able to do materials so that we could have made folders and packages for conventions out of the Vantex product. And I always tell to people that with us doing Vantex and using the discarded recycled cardboard and so forth, today there is a packaging plant that DDL started using our same technique and expanding it with help from the Indian government. We also had a project called Vanseram. And Vanseram did tableware, plates, teacups, teapots, whatever you wanted, from local material. And I remember that being started by, with the help of the IAST. The name of the lady who was the person doing it has gone from me right now. But we were able to have tableware on sale, and it was used in the ministries, and at Congress Place we had the whole line of dishes and so forth. We also had rice van. You will remember at one point the country didn't have the money to bring in the foreign currency to buy the wheat, and there was a cut off of the PL480 plan that we had. And so we started to use rice flour as a local product. Rice flour, we use cassava flour, we use breadfruit flour, different things, and we made stuff without the wheaten flour. And so the agency that did all these items, they did the experiments, and they also sold, had a shop in the East Rhineville market where they were able to sell the products from Rice Van. So at that time, Rice Van, under our vice chairman, then Verna Welshman, we supplied the parliament when they were having their snacks. We supplied different agencies that had activities, and Rice Van did that. During that period also, we did something called appropriate technology. When we had a difficulty in, there was a problem with oil and fuel coming to Guyana and so forth, appropriate technology came into being, where we made things that would make life easier for our families, whether it is great tomate or so many different things. One would remember that there was something called a solar dryer that was invented by us during the appropriate technology workshops, so that the people who were doing their dried fish or their dried shrimp could have used the solar dryers to put their stuff in, and they didn't have to depend on somebody looking out for the rain to cover what they had to dry. You put it in the solar dryer, and the sun from during the day, it is covered there, and it stays and it continues to dry during the night, because the material that made the solar dryer was of such that it kept the heat. So appropriate technology was one of our projects, and it was so such a acceptable project that the WRSM also went to a number of Caribbean countries to show them what we did with solar dryer and how we were able to dry our fruits and the different things that we could have done, whether it was fruits, fish, shrimp, or even thyme, the broadleaf thyme and the fine leaf thyme and so forth. We would use the solar dryer to do that. We also had, during that period, canteens. We supplied food to anybody who would go to buy. Coming out of to the PNCWA and coming over to the WRSM, there was a canteen in Georgetown by John Finance Wharf, which was called Penwa, the Penwa Canteen. And they supplied meals mainly to the workers of John Finance or anybody else who could have stopped by. We also had a similar canteen in Cariverton, where people like Florizel Coupin and Myrtle Dundas, they ran that canteen. And in both cases, both the canteen at Penwa and the one at Cariverton, where the body of the canteen, the building, we used the old train carriages. When the train stopped working, we converted the train carriages into canteen seating arrangement for the canteens. During that period too, as I would say, we also did a number. We had our biennial congresses, we had our rallies, we had our marches, and only recently I was at the funeral of one of our comrades, and when I spoke of her as part of our team marching, then one of the ministers of the church said, yes, she remembers the WRSM in their blue outfits, their blue uniforms with their caps, or the white ones, depending on what the activity was. But during that period, as I said, we were able to spread our spread our wings across Guyana, and we had so many other people involved. During that period too, the WRSM was very much involved in the formation of CASWIG, the Conference on the Affairs and Status of Women in Guyana. It was a national women's organization to which other women, smaller women's organizations were affiliated. And CASWIG was the organization which was the national body for non-governmental women's organizations. We also, during that period, were very much involved in CARIWA, the Caribbean Women's Association. In those days, we went from different countries to have CARIWA meetings and so on. And I know one of the things that we were famous for in Caribbean women, the Caribbean Women's Association meetings, was taking our carambola, candied carambola, and our rum-flavored carambola to the different countries. When we arrived, if the Guyana delegation did not bring our those condiments, the other Caribbean countries were very much annoyed with us. But CASWIG and CARIWA were part of us, and we were instrumental in keeping those organizations alive. I'm not sure if I have missed any other projects, but those are some of the things we did during the consolidated period of the WRSM. I think I will stop there, and if I missed anything, Ernie might be able to remind me of some things. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, Sister Sampson. A wealth of information. And so our sisters did not only dress in purple or wear green or just show up at the wreath laying ceremony. We lay the blocks, we build the buildings, we make the stuff, we sold it, they
Yep.
generated the funds, and we marketed internationally. You're going to hear a little
Right.
bit more of some of the great work that the women did and continues to do. And so I want you to enjoy, sit back and relax because this is an information sharing moment. It is an eye opener for a lot of the youths that never knew that our women did all these things, making ceramics. I can remember Textile in West. I can remember Sonata Textile getting the cotton from Kimbia and making clothing. You had the keiki. You had so many other fabric and designs coming out from them. One of my biggest uh, memory of fabric is the tie dye, and as we go on, you'll hear a little bit more about that. So, moving along, we'll go to Sister Genevieve Allen. And after Sister Genevieve Allen, we'll have a tribute, a musical tribute for those of our sisters who has fallen. And not forgetting the many brothers who has helped us along the way. Because as women, many times we rely on the support of those that sees us and and helps us on. And so to those brothers we say thank you. Over to Sister Allen.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening again to our panelists and all of our listening audience. I will specifically focus on the work of the National Congress of Women, its recent work, and that is over the period, the years 2020 to 2025, even into 2026. We have been engaged in a number of activities, which include some of the following: advocacy for women's rights, justice, and equality, including public calls for stronger protections and real action for women and girls. Over the years, we would have recognized that domestic violence has risen within our society. And I know that Sister Benita and her group They have been raising their voices and advocating too for our women here in Guyana. And so, as a collective body, we have been advocating for the rights for women, for justice, and equality, including the public calls for stronger protection and real action for our women and girls. We've been participating in the observance of the International Days annually, and we've been using the platform to highlight gender issues and national concerns affecting our women. We have also put out our public statements and have been campaigning addressing gender-based violence and social justice in Guyana. We've been engaged in political mobilization and election-related activities, including supporting broader party campaigns and encouraging women's participation in politics. We have been participating in national dialogues and forums on women's role in governance and national building. And we've been supporting and addressing women's socio-economic advancement. In all of our districts, we have encouraged programs during the period, especially during the month of March, where we would have brought our women together and we would have enlightened them with regards to the inequalities and social justice and advocating on measures that should be taken where these instances may occur. In terms of education, the National Congress of Women, we would have sponsored some of our sisters at the University of Guyana in the field of social work and management. And we would have done sponsorship for 2 of our sisters. 4 of our women were sponsored at the Peace University, and they would have done the child psychology counseling program, care for the elderly, and entrepreneurship in small business. At the Guyana School of Agriculture, another sister received sponsorship for the diploma in animal husbandry. And I must say at this time that all of the participants who received the sponsorship, that they successfully completed those programs. For this year, 2026, we have 4 young women who are preparing for enrollment for programs at the University of Guyana. The National Congress of Women, at this time, I want to say how heartened we are that when the vision for economic program for our sisters was voiced, that donors came forward. And I am so happy to say that we have rolled out our women's economic program in the Middle Quarantine East Region 4, the Temeri Linden Soesdijk Highway District. For our sisters in Region 6, 5 sisters received piglets, and they received the necessary feeding supplies for those piglets. The program is of such that when the sisters would have had their turn and they would have received economically, they will then, during this year, they are going to be the persons who are going to pass on the piglets to another group of sisters. So I'm so happy to say that we are empowering our sisters across the regions. On the East Bank Linden Soesdijk Highway District, 5 sisters received the following items. They received ducklings, meat bird chicks, and they received sheep. They are in the process of, after especially the ducklings and the meat birds, they have had their turnover, and so they are waiting on us for us to have the second distribution within both districts. Our sisters at the launch of those 2 programs were expressed their joy that they could have been involved in such programs. And I know that when we return to them, we are going to hear the success stories. The National Congress of Women, we continue to provide teenage mother assistance. And so we provide expectant mothers with hampers containing items that are needed for their babies. Across the regions, our back to school activity is done yearly. We were gifted with sewing machines, and so therefore, uniforms are made by our members and are given to children along with the distribution of school items. Mothers are acknowledged during the month of May and in some districts during the Christmas season. Our hamper distribution is done twice per year in all districts across the country. Across our districts, our members continue to visit our shut-in members because in some of our districts, we have persons who served during the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And I'm happy to say that the members of our districts will visit with them and bring some sort of solace to their household. During the Christmas season, toys and gifts are distributed to our children and senior citizens. Thank you very much.
Thanks ever so much, Sister Genevieve Allen, who has been very instrumental in all of those programs that she has mentioned there. And we have seen over time how impacting it has been to many of the women who have been beneficiaries of those programs. I've seen families benefit from the back to school. I think that is a baby of the national chair, the back to school program, and so many other initiatives that has been ongoing. And our women continue to make strides by impacting lives, not necessarily with a large public display, but every day working to change lives. At this time, we'll move to the tribute for those women who has transitioned and on their backs we ride. And it would be remiss of us not to have a program such as this and not pay tribute to those that dug the soil before us, that set the crop in, that cut the canes and load the punt. At this time, the tribute.
Lift me up, hold me down, keep me close, safe and sound. Burning in a hopeless dream. Hold me when you go to sleep. Keep me in the warmth of your love when you depart. Keep me safe, safe and sound. Lift me up, hold me down, keep me close, safe and sound. Drowning in an endless sea. Take some time and stay with me. Keep me in the strength of your arms. Keep me safe, safe and sound. Lift me up, hold me down, keep me safe, safe and sound. Burning in a hopeless dream. Hold me when you go to sleep. Keep me safe. We need light. We need love. Lift me up in your arms. I need love. I need love. I need love. Hold me. 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 We need light. We need love.
Thank you ever so much. And may they be kept safe in the arms of the Almighty as they continue to rest peacefully. At this time, we're moving along, and we are going to go to our national chair to continue on the journey. Sister Folder Ann Lawrence.
Sorry. Thank you, Sister Benita. And I trust that our viewers are enjoying this history that is being shared with them. As we observe International Women's Month, we reflect not just on challenges, but on progress, policy, and empowerment. I want to take you to the period 2015-2020 under the APNU plus AFC government, and how through government policies and programs, we continue to push the women and girls agenda. The administration focused on 4 pillars during its term in office. That is empowerment, protection, access, and opportunity. Women in leadership and decision making was not just talked about, it was acted upon from the very first day that the David Granger administration came into power, because he appointed 11 women ministers, a historic high for Guyana at that time. 11 women ministers were appointed under the APNU plus AFC government. Women all across this country were elevated to senior public service roles. We had several women taking up the position of permanent secretaries and deputy permanent secretaries, director of programs, chairpersons of boards, and we also had women taking up the positions of chairpersons of regional democratic and other local government organs. There were several women regional executive officers appointed, just to name a few, because I'm going to summarize. This, as I said, demonstrated a commitment to women, not just as beneficiaries, but as decision makers. And that is what we need. In terms of economic empowerment, that is moving women forward through the Hinterland Employment and Youth Service. You remember the HAYES project that is talked about, and some people may want to put it down, but statistics remain, because over 3,700 youths were trained, and more than 2,000 small businesses were created. There was an investment, and Mr. Jordan may come back to correct me, of over $2.3 billion were invested to ensure that there were many beneficiaries, especially young indigenous women. You went across this country and you saw young indigenous women being able to access funding, being able to access skill training, and receive monthly stipends and business grants that enable them to provide services. Some went into selling clothing, some started food shops, some started ice cream parlors, some started to make jams and jellies, etc., and so on. And some of them you see today at the very exhibitions that are held. Many of those women was given their first opportunity under the Hayes Project and other projects. And so we shifted in terms of policy from a dependency syndrome to entrepreneurship. Young women, women in the whole, became entrepreneurs during that period. Then there was the support given to girls, education and access through programs like Public Education Transport Service, PETS. I know many of you out there who have benefited from that program, and I see you today, and I'm very happy. Then we had the PENS program, that is the Public Education and Nutrition Service. And these initiatives helped to reduce school absenteeism. When we came into office, many hundreds of children were not going to school on a regular basis, or some of them not going to school at all. And so these programs help to improve nutrition and learning outcomes. Special emphasis, I could remember, on girls in rural and hinterland community, thus introducing policy which allow girls to return to school. And I remember Minister Henry coming to cabinet and speaking about this policy and how elated I remember myself and my other women colleagues were. And I'm not saying that the men were not, but we were elated. And she brought this policy into the Ministry of Education to have girls who became pregnant while attending school to have their babies, and then they had the opportunity to return to school to further their studies. Because we know that education, for it to benefit anyone, it has to be accessible, especially for vulnerable girls. And so we didn't stop there. As I said, I'm trying to put everything into a nutshell to summarize. Investing in youths and future women leaders. I know Sister Genevieve, Sister Cheryl, and so many other women out there can attest to that, because so many persons were involved. You remember the GYC, the establishment of the Guyana Youth Corps, and this helped women to come out of the homes at times when the children would have returned home from school, etc., and to go and to develop themselves. There was training in life skills, discipline, and technical areas done across this country. I remember the First Lady, Ms. Sandra Granger, going across this country and providing skills training in several communities, far-flung communities, and on the coast to women who now have an opportunity to be employable because of those skill training projects. And so what we basically do was prepare the next generation of female leaders and professionals and women to get out there and be economically stable in terms of providing for themselves and their offspring. Then we went on to, in other sectors, to the strengthening of protection and the justice systems. We focused primarily on enforcement because, as you know, we have so many laws in Guyana. So many pieces of our laws speak to the protection of women and girls and so on. But what we lacked was enforcement. What we lacked was commitment to ensuring that those women and girls once they found themselves in a situation that they were giving the type of service and hearing that was needed to deal with those issues. And I can remember, and you can remember well, domestic violence, while it was there, it was curbed to a large extent, because people recognized that the law did not have friends and favorites, that the law was being rolled out for anyone who broke the law, that they faced the consequences. Then we had the sexual offenses legislation. And we know at that time, we were having so many reports, so many issues in the courts, and they just seemed to be stuck there. We had victims who walked away from the process because justice was long in coming. And so we ensure that we strengthen that system with partners, of course, both locally and externally, who helped us to strengthen the protection and the justice system for women and girls who face sexual offenses. The police were trained, and the expansion of special victim units across this country happened during that period. In every district across the regions, you could have found a police unit that dealt with special victims in one station or the other in every single district. And then it came to Guyana being on the Tier 2 watch list. I don't know if many people can remember that. In terms of trafficking, perpetrators of sex trafficking, especially in Guyana. And this was taking place irrespective of whether it was a child, whether it was a teenager, whether it was a Guyanese, whether it was a foreigner. People were doing whatever they wanted to do, especially in our hinterland regions. And while we hear about the case, we read about something in the newspapers. Why we were placed on Tier 2 watch list was because we were not bringing those perpetrators before the courts and having convictions. And we were able to do that. Minister Simone Brooms, we also had Ms. Corbin, who was head of that unit. And they all, so many officers and so on. And we spent a large chunk of our budget on that particular unit. And we were able to take ourselves off of Tier 2 watch lists, off of Tier 2. And I think when we left, we were on Tier 1 with a review coming up to be removed, because we were able to not only charge, but finally convict several persons for this offense. And so we recognize that empowerment must include safety and justice. And so we did what was required to do. In terms of health and social support for women, we made large investments. And as a matter of fact, when we came in, we didn't have enough money. We didn't have enough money to invest in this particular area. Maternal and neonatal health care, we had a high percentage of maternal deaths, neonatal deaths, and our accommodation for pregnant women in hospitals was quite lacking. And I remember us, myself, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Winston Jordan, the Minister of Health at that time, Dr. George Norton, the Miss Ruth Knott in charge of budgeting at the Ministry of Finance, and many other staff there, how we work collaboratively on these issues to seek to find financing to be able to address these issues. We worked with our partners, PAHO, WHO, UNICEF, and everyone that was available to ensure that we could have tackled this issue. I remember Mr. Jordan even working with our local financial partners. We had the Guyana Lottery agency that came forward and funded with a grant the extension of the maternal unit at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. And we were able to upgrade various maternal departments in Region 6. We reestablished Myba Curie Cottage Hospital, Port Morant, Riverton, and Essequibo Best Hospital, the Linden Hospital Complex, etc., to name a few, Kwakwani, and so on, to be able to provide the special care. We upgraded the clinics at the Barometer Health Center. We were having a lot of maternal deaths from Barometer and Region 1 as a whole. And with those efforts, we were able to bring those numbers down significantly. We invested also in women's reproductive health services, and not forgetting the expansion of daycare and early childhood support, structural support for families. I remember at the Ministry of Social Protection, we started to rent homes for families because we didn't want to take their kids away. I can't speak of that without mentioning the work done by the PS, Ms. Baird, and Ms. Anne Green, who at the time was in charge of the Child Care Protection Agency, and all the other persons who worked. And then when we built our first center in Sophia, we ensured that we place in there what we call family quarters. So when we had to remove a woman and her children from an environment that was not conducive for their well-being, we were able to take the woman and her children and place them into an apartment under our care. Family and counseling services. The churches were involved, the NGOs were involved, and supporting women, not only in public life, but within the family structure was part of our program in the administration of addressing women. Then you had other ministries who looked at hinterland and indigenous women, and the team was leaving no one behind. They targeted investments, which included village grants, solar electrification program, where they distributed over 25,000 units to families within the hinterland, the removal of VAT on hinterland travel. Focus was also on improving access to services. And then there were the economic opportunities, ensuring inclusion of indigenous women in national development. There was the policy framework for gender equality, advancing national gender policy and equal pay principles, etc. I remember when we left, we were also working in collaboration with the Caribbean labor office in terms of looking at providing men with maternal leave or paternal leave when their wives or their spouses would have had a child, so that they can be there to support and to bond with the child from an early age, because we believe in family, and that would have assisted in bringing the family closer together, helping the man to understand some of the changes that the woman goes through and some of the trauma and so on, and also bonding with the child. Um, I think I'll stop there. I could go on and on and on, but we don't have all that time. And perhaps on another show, we can look at other areas that were covered under the APNU plus AFC administration. But it was all in all encapsulating the promotion, the development of women and girls. Thank you for the opportunity, Sister Benita.
Thank you ever so much, National Chair, Sister Walda and Lawrence. What a piece of information there. I know many of you are sitting outside and saying, what? I didn't know about that. I didn't know about all of that. So maybe their PR has not been that great. And so maybe that is the reason why. Or maybe you were not paying as much attention as you should to the news and what is happening around the country. But indeed, so much is done. So after tonight, I don't want to hear persons saying, oh, Apno Coalition did not do anything. You've heard what these women have done. You've heard what the team have done collectively. You've heard of many initiatives that has positively impacted lives throughout the length and breadth of 83,000 square miles. And so it's important for you to know now some of the things that we have achieved. And I know if the time wasn't running, because we've got other speakers to come on and we are running out of time. And so we know we will have to do a tier 2 for you and maybe a tier 3, because there's so much of work these women has been doing over the years and continues to do. And so at this time, I want to ask Sister Alberta Braffett. She has been, Sister Braffett,
Yes, sir.
she has been a part of the Women Auxiliary, and she has been very instrumental over the years. Now, take into account, this young lady is 102 years old. So she'll be 102 in September. I'm pushing it, but in September she'll be 102, almost there. And so tell us some of the things that you have been able to do with the women going attending the Women Institute, because in previous conversations you spoke to us and you informed me of the Women's Institute. You learned to do several things. What are some of the things, a few of the things that you learned to do?
From Linden Demerara, the PNC, Women's Auxiliary, and everything. I was in there. First, I want to say that in the PNC, I used to do registration. The leader there was Walker Bone for Linden. I used to do registration when coming on to voting time. One time I could remember I was a chairperson to keep in a meeting to invite people to come out to meeting and so on. And I was so glad for that. Used to keep meeting during election I used to go walk around and carry out people to vote for the PNC. Oh, that was very days that I love those days that passed and gone. Sorry, can't live over those days again. But God is in charge of that.
So you
Yes.
did some icing of cakes, right? You did
And the
icing of cake.
at the Women's Institute that I was in. Yes, I used to do icing cake, icing wedding cake or whatever cake, icing. I used to do bone and chicken.
The
I
bone in the
used to
chicken.
do ham, making ham by pork and make ham, all that I learned at the Women's Institute. Thank God for all of that I did, Lord. Yes, and I thank God for the two women who have inspired me, which is Olive Walker Bourne and Yvonne Haywood Ben. She was the regional chairman at the then time. Such wonderful people that I was in. They always giving good advice to the members and so on. I could remember days of Congress. That was what I did love to going to Congress every year and being a teacher, I want to say being a teacher in Unity, it was so nice. Everybody depend on me, Teacher Bradford. Every morning before we go to Congress, I wake up first thing in the morning. I want to say, bathe my skin, dress, and then I wake everybody because was load of us used to go down from Linden and be in the dorm before Congress. And every morning I do keep devotion, pray to God for the PNC, for Congress, for everybody, that God will be able to bless us, bless the Frank Bonham, who was the president then. Oh God, that was a leader. He was a leader, oh God. Thank God for him. No, how he's resting with the Lord. Thank God for Samson Bonham, a leader. God did send him as a leader for the nation in Guyana. One people, one nation, one destiny. Oh God, Guyana, the land of our birth. Guyana, a wonderful place. Thank God for Guyana, where I
Thank
born and grew for
thank
Guyana.
you.
Yes,
Thank you ever so much, Sister Alberta. I
yes.
know how you feel elated and
I was,
excited.
I was,
I
I
I
was
can
inspired to do what I do by Jesus Christ and Lyndon Farb Samson Bonham, who is with
okay.
the Lord.
So thank you for now on
Amen.
that. So
Amen.
you did deboning of chicken, and
Yes,
for the public who don't know what is that, or persons watching may say, what is deboning the chicken? It's having the whole chicken
yes.
and removing the bone, but still keeping the chicken in whole
Whole.
format. And
Yes,
so there are techniques that they had to use, and the women through the
yes,
collaborative relationship with the Women's Institute, they were able to learn that skill.
yes,
Sister Alberta
yes.
went on to do knitting, and
Knitting.
she bragged about how her
And
first
every,
knitting that she did and how she presented to a baby the bonnet and the booty, and so she cut
yes,
cane and load punt. So those are some of the things, and a lot of other women were part of the cutting of the cane and loading of the punts. So our women work really hard for our nation. And this brings me to a very critical part, that we remember our elders and we give them the honor and the respect while they're alive. Let them have the roses. Let them feel inclusive. Let them feel respected and revered, so that our young generation or those that are coming behind will have something to emulate and hopefully care for those that are their seniors. So let us start to give the kind of respect and attention to our leaders. And obviously you see that we, the vanguard of the vanguard, is doing that in fine style. At this time, I am going to go to a musical selection, and then we are going to come back with a few short questions, and then we'll be off again. Musical selection.
I was born strong. I was made for this. See, I met so many hard times when I thought I couldn't make it. See, I've had my trials when my pillows dried my eyes. Then the morning came and my wings took flight. I rise, See, I'm hurting but not broken. Down but I won't die. I rise, Soon I will reach the sky and still I rise. Some say it's a mystery how I still believe that in spite of all I've been through, I could still push the wheel. See, I have a power they can't see with their eyes. It's a little thing called faith that makes broken wings fly. I rise, Though I'm hurting but not broken. Down but I won't die. I rise, Soon I will reach the sky and still I rise. Who can understand when just an ordinary man defies the odds and still fights on to win? I can take it. I can make it. I rise. See, I'm hurting but not broken. Down but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky and still I rise. See, I'm hurting but not broken. Down but I won't die. I rise. Soon I will reach the sky and still I rise.
I rise. I might be hurting, but I'm not broken. And so, whatever is happening in your lives, women out there, men out there, kids out there, young people out there, never sit in a pity party. It's okay to get it wrong at times. It's okay to fall, but a comeback is always better. And the PNC will rise again. APNU will rise again. And our women continue to rise. Let me go into this segment in the news. We're wrapping up. So in the news, But before I do that, I want to give credit and pay compliments to the women in the diaspora who are watching or will watch the program later. Thanks for all you do. I've mentioned the formation of the arm in the diaspora in 2023, 31st of March. And since then, we have been able to mobilize persons, women in the diaspora, and we do have our honorary men. And we've been able to donate through our activities, or from the process of our activities, we've been able to donate laptops to the party as well as to education enhancement projects. We've been able to financially contribute. Otherwise, we've been able to support 5 victims in the diaspora and recognize our elders, just to mention a few things. We continue to partner. We are focused on advocacy, and so we have been networking aggressively with other nations and women from other nations through the United Nations platform, and we are hoping that next collaborative activity can be birthed very soon. You may know that in 2024, we held a collaborative conference, a 3-day conference, and so it was grand. So we're looking forward to even greater initiatives where economic development remains on the agenda, inequality remains on the agenda for action, and uh, the issues in the news, such as abuse and violence against women and youths, continue to be at the front of our agenda. I've noticed in the news several social issues. One involving a social worker dragging a 15-year-old across the street or roadway. And that matter, we understand, is under investigation. We're still awaiting an update through the ministry and collective bodies. We are concerned, and as women, our children are our pride and joy. As parents, they are our pride and joy, and they are our future. And so we want to protect them. So we are categorically denouncing this, and we're hoping to hear an update. Continuing in the news, we've got a 14-year-old teenager, Albina Purtam, from Region 2, who died after giving birth. And the cause of that was heart failure and anemia, but they are a secondary case where allegations are leveled against her father for sexual assault. And we are asking the authorities to put your foot down on the pedal because it's overbearing. Our children need to strive, they need to grow, they need to be successful, and they need to be free from these kinds of menaces in our society. Um, we're waiting for an update. I think there has been a court hearing, and so we're looking at that. Still in the news, girls that we have had the young lady receiving 25 stab wounds. Another 15-year-old out of Region 6, New Amsterdam. And we recently understood via the press that an arrest has been made for the attempted murder and rape. And we thank the authorities for making this arrest, but we're looking for a conviction here. Um, Last night on Sources program, journalist Svetlana interviewed the U.S. ambassador to Guyana, Nicole, and during that interview, several topics were raised. And one such topic that we are concerned about is the $100 million that will go to STEM projects. And we would like to make sure that that $100 million from ExxonMobil towards STEM project is able to be localized where persons can access, our girls can access, our boys can access, but importantly, for our girls to be strong participants in that project. And so that is something that we are grateful for to see coming. And we hope it can expand not only to suburban areas, but to rural areas as well. Um, Still in the news, we, on the same show, sources, and in that very interview, we learned of the drones project, which will be a collaborative project um, coming to Guyana. And we want to ensure that those technologies, our girls and women have access to the training of operating drones. We know that this is the era of technology, and we want to make sure that our women are not only watching it or participating at lower level, but moving into the study to be engineers in that field. Um, Moving ahead in the international news line, equal work for equal pay. That has always been something that we have been advocating for. And what we have seen in the US through a study in 2025, it was 83 cents to $1 for the same work a man does. So the women would get 83 cents to every dollar man makes. In 2026, it is 83 cents to a dollar. In 2026, it is now 80 cents to a dollar man's make. And we're saying enough is enough. We do the same work, we're asking for the same pay. And so that is bringing it to an end for now in the news globally. Um, Moving on to a few big questions I would like to know, and I'm sure you viewing audience want to know. You've heard all these things that our panelists have done. What really have inspired these women? And that's in our wrap-up segment. Um, let's go to Sister Cheryl Sampson. She's an educator. She has traveled extensively. She has done a lot of work. She is a historian. Sometimes I say a data bank. What motivated you? Name two men and two women that have motivated you and why.
You're talking about motivating me in terms of my political work or with the women's arm, or what you're talking about,
Well,
or in general?
that is an open question.
Oh, it's an open question. It's an open question. Um, I would say my mother. We came from being in the country. You come from a humble background. She didn't go to secondary school, and when I got the opportunity to go to high school, she pushed me. But when I got to high school and I finished high school to get into the teaching profession, I got in there, easily. But in terms of my political life, I will mention Ermia Johnson and later Viola Burnham. I say Ermia because when I joined the WRSM, I remember getting, as a matter of fact, they were coming to set up the WRSM in my area, and I was invited to go to the meeting. And I can be honest with you, I went to the meeting, but in those days I was an ardent reader of the Mills and Booms. So I went to the meeting with my Mills and Boom, a copy. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and saying, what am I doing here? I was in my 20s at that time. What am I doing here? Because the meeting was being kept with Jane Phillips Gay was leading it, and there was a lady, one Comet Batson, who came from the Burbies, and there was Sylvia Carrington, and I don't remember who the other person. And my local person was one Doreen Bob. And all of these women were older than I was. And I'm saying, what am I doing here? So I'm at the back reading my Mills and Boom, hearing but not following the meeting as such. And then I heard my name called, not realizing that they were setting up the committee. And when my name was called, I said, oh, and then the next thing you know, somebody said, nominations closed. And so I was made secretary of the organization on the West Demerara. Now, it's the first time I was made a secretary. So I'm going to write the national secretary who has been writing us. And my mother used to laugh at me. I'm writing with my dictionary because I don't want to do any wrong grammar or wrong spelling. And I write, and if I write Ermia Johnson a one-page letter, when she replies to you, it got about 10 pages. And I was convinced that this lady got to be some old lady. When I met Ermia for the first time, she had come to meet us all as a group, secretary, treasurer, chairman, secretary, and treasurer from the different areas. And we all met in one place. And she said she knew people by name, but she didn't know who they were. So she was going to call your name, and then you will stand up and identify yourself. The first name she called was mine. So I got up, identified myself, and she went on to call other names. But as the meeting was going on, she kept asking questions about me. I had a cousin who was sitting in the front. And every time she asked, what work does she do? My cousin wrote it on a piece of paper and sent it down to me. And they said she's a teacher. Is she trained? And all these questions are being asked, and I'm saying, why is this lady asking about me? And so by the time the meeting was finished, I was out. She passed me on the road because I was riding on a bicycle in a car, and she waved. The next week, she was visiting different people on the coast, and she stopped in at my house. And from that, I knew that she was looking at me for something or the other. She went and she told Mrs. Burnham she met this person, and the next thing you know, I was called to the residence, and I'm scared to hell. What am I going to tell the Prime Minister's wife? And when I was finished talking with her, I discovered I was identified, and they wanted to send me to do political science in Cuba. And I said all sorts of things. I have to be an ambassador, although the place would have, the Guyana would have an ambassador in Cuba. When I go there, I must be able to portray my country. I don't know of this, and I made all sorts of excuses. You think they said no? They took me and they sent me to Coffee Ideological Institute for a short-term course, and then I was posted to Cuba. And when I was ready to come back, Ormi wrote me a nice long letter inviting me to do a career in women's work instead of going back to teaching. And she was a person who really grounded me in the political organization. And then Mrs. Burnham, on numerous occasions, pointed me out. And I said to myself recently, this lady had been grooming me for something. I remember going to a meeting at Kokwani, a conference, and come advising me in speaker. And she passes me a note. Say, speak on 1, 2, 3, and I will fill in the blanks. That's sort of a encouragement I had. So in terms of my political work, Ermia Johnson and Viola Burnham were the ones who had me going through the system. Until now, 51 years, a member of the People's National Congress, I have no regrets.
Thank you ever so much. You've got 30 seconds to tell me the two men. I'm not going to excuse you. The two men.
Come
You've
here.
had two women. The two
I
men.
Come
had
here.
two men.
Two men now.
Oh, there
So
was a
you have
guy who
I got
lives
it.
in my village here by the name of Neville Mountain. Neville has
okay.
passed on. But Neville was the one who, when I joined the People's National Congress in 1975, said to me, "You come and I will show you what to do." He made me secretary of the group. He taught me so many different things in terms of election work, how you prepared different things to send up to Congress Place and so forth. And he was the one who encouraged them to send me to coffee. I heard that afterwards. And he always was there guiding me along in my political life. And the other person I would say is Robert Corbett, one who I knew from a young days, as because we were both from the Presbyterian Church, so we knew each other from church camps and as young people. And Robert was always there encouraging me. And even when I stopped teaching, he was the one who pulled me in to work with him as his personal assistant during my days at Congress Place. He always looked forward to me. I remember they were doing training for election campaigning, and they were telling you how to go about doing what. I was sitting there, and the first day after he was doing all the training, first day passed and the second day, and he said, "We're going to have some practical sessions." And the first person he called to speak was Cheryl Sampson to talk about women's issues. My whole folder fell out of my hand, paper scattered, but he encouraged me. And when he was finished, he said, "I knew you were scared, but you came out good." And those are the two men, Neville Mountain and Robert Corbin, in terms of my political life. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much. And so all the panelists have 1 minute to tell me two men, two women that have impacted their lives. It's an open question, not specific. Do I have to call names, Sister Genevieve?
That you will pass me. But nevertheless, for
1 minute.
the late Mr. Alan Ewart Monroe and Mr. Vincent Alexander. There are two politicians that I worked with, and they have impacted my life. In terms of women, the late Lois Moore, because Lois Moore was the party organizer within my district in my early days, and she was the person who really got me involved in party work and work in the women's area. And I'd like to say, you give roses when you should, Miss Cheryl Sampson, because I've worked with her for a number of years. Those are the
Thanks.
four persons.
Thanks ever so much. So we've got Sister Genevieve, we've got Alberta finished, Sister Ermia Johnson, 1 minute if you're on, two two women and two men that have inspired you.
Yes. The two women who have inspired me are Viola Burnham and Shirley Field because of their inspirational work in advocating for equal rights for women. And they were the architects of many of the equal rights laws and policies which were passed in Guyana during the PNC government from the 1970s to the 1990s, early 1990s. For example, women permanent secretaries. It is Mrs. Burnham who wrote a letter to the Prime Minister at that time, Mr. Burnham, and that became a reality. She was the person who initiated changes for women to become post girls, leading to the appointment as women post mistresses. and a lot of other laws which were passed, like, for example, the constitutional principles of equality for women and equality for children. She was the person who articulated for many of those policies to be placed in the Constitution of Guyana, to be inscribed in the Constitution, enshrined in the Constitution of Guyana. Sure, if you read, is not given credit because she was one of the persons or the main person who was behind the State Paper on Equality for Women, the policy document, which gave rise to many of the laws which were enacted in Parliament to give equality for women. At the level of the men, my father, who inspired me and who provided opportunities for my education, and because of his approach to the needs of people, he inspired in me a love for working with people and serving people. The other male figure is LFS Burnham. Because of the things which he did for women, free education, equality of opportunity for women, it was through his leadership as Prime Minister that many of the laws in Guyana were changed because he believed in the abilities of women and he was committed to the principles of equality for women. And later on, when we have a discussion, that is something we'd like us to focus on. The things that were done under the leadership of Forbes Burnham in the 1970s to the 1980s when he died, picked up by Desmond Hoyt, and which were done to provide equality of opportunity for women and equal rights for women. So that would be my answer on that. Yeah.
Thanks ever so much. Moving ahead, 1 minute. Sister Valda Lawrence, the same question. 2 men, 2 women.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I will start with the men, and I will say that at the parliamentary level, Mr. Winston Murray has been an inspiration to me, and he has guided me, he has pushed me. I remember him being the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, and I went there and we had a talk and said, "Oh, so you're doing accounting? Oh, you're a finance person, all right, good." And the next week, he came and he said he had to leave abruptly, and he told the clerk of the committee that I will take over and chair the committee. And little did I know, that was the last day that Mr. Murray chaired the Public Accounts Committee. And I became the chair subsequently. And the other person would be Comrade Leader Robert Corbin, for his patience. He's a teacher through and through. He listens, and he's always there. Doesn't matter what, and doesn't matter what time. You can call him. He's a people's person. And he tells you like it is, but he will not embarrass you. In terms of women in the political sphere, I will say my recruiter, the late Stella Asana, who passed. She recruited me and guided me, pushed me, promoted me, taught me so many things. And the other person I will surely have to say is Auntie Yvonne Haywood Ben. I call her my mom because I see her as a mom to me. And I remember her throughout my political journey, always there, correcting me, pinching me, poking at me. You had that wrong, you need to do this, you need to say it this way, and that kind of thing. So I will say for me, those 4 persons will stand out.
Well, I think, thank you ever so much. I want to say that for me, even though I'm hosting, I'm still representing the women in the diaspora. So I'm going to say this. For me, it has been the founder leader and Hamilton Green. I was raised in a community where the then father of Hamilton Green, Dr. Green, had a pharmacy in the Charleston area, and we would go to Dr. Green's pharmacy. It was in James Street All Boys Singing. Then they moved on to the Charleston area. And both father and son were grassroots community fixtures that every child and every family member knew and interacted with. And I became familiar with Eliphas as a young age because I was fascinated with his ability to narrate. He was so articulate, and I can remember going to May Day parade and with the schools in the national park. And when he spoke, when he makes the address, everyone understood, and you could drop a pin. And that is the kind of thing that has inspired me. I have looked around the party and I've seen other men. Our leader, Aubrey Norton, very good narrator. And so these are some of the men that have that kind of ability to narrate. Um, for women, definitely Viola Burnham. I love the fashion. I loved her ability to navigate the international scenes of diplomacy representing us, and Michelle Obama. Um, Now, I want to tell all of you women that every one of you inspire me daily. Our national chair is a champion. Um, our first vice, our executive women, women that are not here, women that came before us. Your shoes is quite a tall order for girls coming behind to fit. And so take a bow, and I ask you to take a bow for being that role model. So indeed, the question should no longer be asked or said that we do not have role models. We have great role models with our men and our women. And tonight we're wrapping the women 100%. So moving along, we've been serious. Last question. Tell us something funny while being in the women's arm you enjoyed a lot. I'm going to go to Sister Brafford. Sister Brafford told me something she used to do at the market square in Linden, and she loved it dearly. Sister Brafford?
Yes, I I remember doing drilling. Go by the market square, doing drilling in the artillery, left, right, left, right, left, right. That was amusing to me. I did love it. I used to wait for the day me to get to go and do the drilling. Now I love that. I miss it. Sometimes I just sit down by myself. Now was with all I'm this age, and I just remember those days. How I used to go and do drilling so nice with other students, a set of us go and do drilling, trying to become soldiers.
Thank you. And now you are definitely one of our hero soldiers. Thank you. Moving that question along, Sister Ermia Johnson.
So
One fun memory.
A fun memory is the work I did with the WRSM, organizing for congresses, as Cheryl spoke about, for conventions of the WRSM, the international work which the WRSM did. We had a Foreign Affairs Committee. For example, at the third biennial convention, we had representatives from 16 overseas organizations. That is the extensiveness of the work we did in foreign affairs. The International Women's Day celebrations were grand. We used to host female members of the diplomatic corps. We used to have cultural presentations at the cultural center. The first one was named Hair Ties and Helmets, which in 76, which signified the new face of the movement. And we had the hair ties we used to wear, and all linked with the emblem, the meaning of the emblem of the NCW. So those are some of the memories I have, and visiting women in regions throughout the country to do work, like Sister Doreen Duncan in Region 2, Sister Megan Davis in Region 3. We had Sister Lynch in Region 10, Judy Murray, my friend Zorma Day, and all of them in Region 6, Region 5, Evadne James, Camity Chester. All those are memories I have, which are embedded in my mind about the beauty of mobilization of women and working with them in the women's arm of the PNC. Yeah.
Sister Cheryl, 1 minute. Fun memory. I'm not hearing you, but okay, go ahead. I'm not hearing a dissent.
Did you hear me?
No,
Hello?
no, we did not hear you.
I was saying that marching, wearing my uniform, whether blue or white, and the rain is falling, those were good days. And secondly, going on trips with Ernia Johnson, who, when the night comes, does not sleep, is always writing.
That must have been really fun seeing her with her pen and book when it's time to sleep. And so, Sister Genevieve, one fun memory.
The fond memory that remains with me is when I served as National Secretary. I had to organize the children's parties. We moved from region to region over the years. And it was really fun memory because you made do with what you had. And the joy that you felt was when you were finished and the children were receiving their gifts and their condiments and so on. Really fun memories for me.
Thanks, Sister Folda Lawrence. Fun memory.
I don't know which one to speak of, but I think I will say politicking on the ground with Miss Clarissa Reel. She to me was a unique groundsperson. She visited every single home. It, irrespective of whether you are posting or flying a flag or a poster for another party, she was coming in that home, that yard, that everything. And not only that, every stand you meet selling condiments, whether it's tamarind syrup, mitai, plantain chip, whatever, she would support every single stand you meet in that area which you had to do political groundwork. And she was always a joy to work with, always a joy. And you would never go hungry.
So she always had the prags bag.
Always, always.
Thank you. Fun memories. It's always fun listening to you guys and trying to absorb. It's so much of information. And I really wonder, Sister Volda is another, I call her Data Mama and Digit Guru and all names I give her for her unique ability to retain stats and datas and numbers and so on. And when I sit and I listen to you as not the younger generation, because I think I'm in the middle section, you know, and I'm so encouraged by the wealth of knowledge that you guys have, by the sacrifices and the contributions that you have made, but most importantly, by your commitment and loyalty to the party and to the citizens of Guyana. That really moves me. When I listen to someone at 102 years or 101 plus years tell me about how intrigued she was to drill and do musketry, and she looks forward to the day and she wishes it can return. What is stopping us now? Nothing can stop us now. So, this is a challenge for the chair and the executive body to ensure that some of those things are returned as attractions so that they can participate. I want to see Sister Genevieve drill and so on and thing. So I can looking forward to see. I'm gonna look forward to see that. And so if persons are looking here and they said, you know what, this women arm, I never know they did all this work. I don't know that they really do all this work because Sister Vola don't really say, she's drop off the hamper at people's door and she gone. Drop off, and it's so the different sisters go around doing it. And so not necessarily bragging our shoulders, oh, we shared 50 hampers or 100 hampers. How can they reach out? Who can they talk to? Who can they send their contributions to? Because we take contributions towards our projects. Anyone can answer that. Are you guys there? Are you hearing me?
I didn't hear
Yes.
the question.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, we're asking if someone would like to contribute to the women's arm. How do they do this?
The women's arm has a structure, and there is a treasurer and an assistant treasurer. Our headquarters is at 44 Public Road, Kitty, Georgetown, Guyana. And they can reach us through the party's switchboard, 225-7853 or 54, 225-7853 or 54, or they can make direct contact with the treasurer, Sister Hazel Pinder, myself, the chairperson, or the first vice, Miss Carol Smith Joseph, or any of the executives, including yourself, Madam Host.
Thanks ever so much. And if they would like to join, because we're recruiting, if you would like to join, does that information stands?
Yes. You can join the National Congress of Women. First, let me say, if you're a member of the party, you will have automatic status to be a member of the National Congress of Women, but you will not have financial status. You will have to pay your dues in order to have financial status. If you belong to another organization or you have a group and you would like to affiliate with us, then yes, you can write to us again at 44 Public Road, Kitty, Georgetown, and share with us your intent, your group's intent, or your organization's intent to be a part of our organization.
Thanks ever so much. We're gonna have a wrap up comment, and we're going to music wrap up comment, and that will be the end as we bring our curtains down. Please stay on for the our battle song and for the unveiling of our images of the women that came before us. And so we're gonna go to one of the songs by Rita Franklin. Most of you would know the song, A Little Respect, after you've heard all that we've been doing, all that we've done, all that the women have done over the years. It's just the time for you to give us a little respect.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, hey, baby. Just a little bit. Get home. Just a little bit, mister. Just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong while you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, baby. Just a little bit. Get home. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm out to give it all my money. And all I'm asking in return, honey, is to give me my promise when you get home. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ooh, your kisses, sweeter than honey. And guess what? So is my money. All I want you to do for me is give it to me when you get home. Yeah, baby. Whip it to me till you get home. Now, just a little bit. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, T-F-T-C-T. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, little respect. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me. Ooh, hey, little respect. Just a little bit. I get tired. Just a little bit. Keep on trying. Just a little bit. You're running out of food. And I ain't lying. Just a little bit. Respect when you come home. Or you may walk in and find out alone.
Just a little respect. That's all we're asking for. Not a lot. Not a lot. That's all we're asking for. Final words, Sister Sampson, Sister Ermia. So we're going to do it, Sister Ermia. Final words. Is she there? If she's not there, Sister Genevieve, final words, closing words.
The National Congress of Women is a great organization, the women's arm of the great PNCR. I trust that all women can come on board as we go forward to empower women across Guyana and the diaspora.
Thank you. Sister Charles Sampson. Closing thoughts? Are you speaking, Sister Sampson? Sister Volda, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, so we're trying to get Sister Cheryl
Samson.
Sampson, final word, if there is.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yes, we're hearing you now.
I just want to say that the National Congress of Women, the women's arm of the party, is the backbone of our party, and I will encourage all our sisters out there to make us be the vanguard of the vanguard as we were in the olden days. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Ermia, are you there?
I would just like to say that I would recommend for reading. Sister Alberta spoke about women in politics. We have a address by Winifred Gaskin to the first biennial Congress of the PNC. She gives her experiences about the work of the PNC women in politics in the early days. And Comrade Leader's address to the third biennial convention of the WRSM, where he talks about women in the vanguard of the vanguard. That is when the concept was developed. And he also spoke about the formation of the Women's Auxiliary. And I would like to recommend for the next phase that we have people speak on different sections such as the International Affairs Program of the WRSM, our contribution to policy, the work of our subcommittees, how we got our team song, our emblem. And we should not forget we have a lot of other elders in the diaspora. We have Verna Welchman, who is she like the twin sister to the mentor of Waldo, which is Stella Sano. They have Dolly Small, who's still alive. We have the younger portions, Gwen McGowan, Camille Chichester, and we have Sister Joan Taylor. So I would like Sister Bonita to make arrangements to reach out to these women, because many of them, all of them, made significant contributions. And thank you very much, Sister Bonita, for your inspiring leadership for organizing this program. And we look forward to another session with you and members of the DWA. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so grateful to have mentors like you and models that we can emulate. You are definitely what we call the best of the best on the panel. So I'm going to go. Did we hear from Sister Cheryl's?
Yes.
Sometimes I just want to hear she again. All right, let's move on to Sister Falda Lawrence.
Thank you, Sister Benita, again, and thank you, sisters, for sharing. And thank you, listeners and viewers, and to our technicians. My parting words would be to all of the comrades out there. I hope that you not only listen to what we said attentively, but note that on this panel, that there are women who came from different eras of this organization, and that we're all working together. As chairperson, I cannot measure or put a value to the support that I have gotten from all of the members, past and present. And what we have shared with you here tonight is for you to continue to build on these foundations to ensure that our party remains strong and that the women's arm of the People's National Congress reform remains the vanguard of the vanguard. Good night, and God bless you.
Thank you ever so much. When I allow my chair to speak, there is nothing else I want to say other than amen. I know we have really had our most senior member speaking quite a bit and even past your bedtime. This program has extended beyond the allotted time, even though we have not been able to have all our panelists as previously advertised. But rest assured, in programs to come, we will make up to you and we will add more. You will understand that this time ran so fast. As much as I tried to cut in areas and to still giving you the information that you deserve, I ran into the clock as well. And so it's now time for us to bring the curtain just for this segment. But we will be back sharing, entertaining, educating as we advance the cause of women and girls all across Guyana and globally. Tonight, I say thank you. Do not log off. Enjoy our battle song as we bring the curtains down. I
Natural beauty, you know. Tell, no, I've never been someone shy until I seen your eyes. Still I had to try, yeah. Oh yes, let me get my words right and then approach you. Woman, I'll treat you like a man is supposed to. You'll never have to cry, no. I know everyone can relate to when they find a special someone. And she's royal, yeah, so royal. And I want her in my life. I never knew anyone so one of a kind, no. The way she moves to her own